Ready. Play.
It's that moment in the year again. Can't believe it's another year since the last ATP finals in Turin, and yeah, here we are again. So power rankings, here we go. Number 8, the man who says that winning this tournament is more important than winning a Grand Slam, Stefanos Tsitsipas. Some of you might think, well, that's a little bit harsh given that he was in the semi-finals last week in Paris, winning 250 all year and not really making too much of an impression at many tournaments since Australia means that he comes in at number 8 for me. Anyway, also, by the way, I think Tsitsipas' sort of head-to-heads against players such as Rune, Alcaraz and Djokovic means it's going to be a tough ask for him to make it out of the group. Of course, the group, by the way, which will be drawn today as I record it in a couple of hours from now, but they haven't been drawn yet. And of course, this could have a slight influence on our power rankings, but listen, I'm going for it this way anyway. Number 7 on my list. John, count backwards. 7 on my list has to be Alexander Zverev. Again, similar reasons to Tsitsipas, but I think his form at the beginning of the Asia swing and also US Open, he made more of an impression there. I think he can trouble. It's kind of, sometimes when I'm making these lists, it's also like, how are you going to get on against Novak? How are you going to get on against Carlos? I think against Novak, he can probably trouble him slightly more than Stefanos can, but still, number 7 on the list. Anyway, let's get through this. Number 6. This was a tough one for me. Some of you might think I've placed Holger Rune too high at number 6, but actually I was considering him at number 5. And I went for the number 5 because of something recent that happened, and that changed my mind. But listen, number 6, Holger Rune. Again, I think when you're looking lower down the risk, again, it's kind of like, what can this player do if they're in the same group as Novak, or if they play Novak in the semi-finals? And Holger Rune, 2-2 head-to-head, could have beaten him in Paris recently. I know he barely won a match after Wimbledon this year, but for me, a power ranking has to be, what could they do? What are they likely to do? Well, I don't think he'll get out of the group, because I just think his form hasn't been good enough. But let's just say he's in the same group as Novak, and he beats Novak. You're basically 1 foot in the semi-finals, they're off. So for me, he's number 6. Number 5, Andrei Rublev. Okay, I told you that I was not sure whether to go for Rublev or Rune, but I've gone Ruby because of his performance last week, and also because it was also against Novak. And I know that's my gauge, basically, for a lot of this power rankings. So yeah, I think his performances in Paris and really throughout the year on both hard and clay have told me he is capable of easily getting out of the group, and therefore he's number 5. Number 4 on my list is, this was a tricky one, but ultimately I went for Daniel Medvedev, primarily because of his head-to-head recently changing against Jannik Sinner. Medvedev will still go into this tournament among the favourites. Of course, he's won it before, hard court specialist. I don't think the speed of the courts in Turin will trouble him too much in terms of it being a fast-paced court. We know how he wasn't too keen on Indian Wells with it being a bit slow and a bit gritty, but Turin no problem, although he didn't get out of the group last year, but of course it was mighty close with 3 third set tie breaks, and his form this year was much better than 2022. So he's number 4. But number 3 on my list is Jannik Sinner, and the main reason is I just think that arguably he's the best, most informed player on the tour. Maybe I'm being a bit generous towards Carlos Alcaraz, who's number 2 on the list, bearing in mind he's not shown a lot of form post-Wimbledon, really, despite getting to the final in Cincinnati in the semi-final of the US Open. But of course there he lost to Medvedev in a kind of a jarring defeat, and he's had a few more sort of shocking defeats since then, or surprising defeats since then. Nevertheless, Carlos Alcaraz, his ceiling, his capability, his year has still been phenomenal, even if it's had a slightly disappointing end to it. But it may yet, of course, have an incredible silver lining should he go on to lift the title in Turin. I mean, pretty much the number 1 has gone for him now. I think Novak just needs to get 1 win, and 1 being the magic number. Novak Djokovic, I think, is an inarguable number 1 on this power ranking list. Won the top tournament last year. He's the world number 1. He won 3 out of the 4 Grand Slams, and it was very close to being a calendar year slam. And his form is still there. These courts are fine for him. Do I need to make a case for Novak Djokovic? Not really. So herein ends my power rankings for the ATP Tour Finals 2023. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.